Alright guys, my deadline would be a reaction video. Let's do the teen girls' bodies who chunks will find in. Now I saw this. I always saw this. Okay. Let's do the evil teen twins who kill an elderly man for money. Why? So you're leaving me for MJ? Yes. But they don't even have a mascot. Young, baby-faced killers. Those were the words used to describe these teens after they callously gunned down an elderly man right in his driveway. And then, instead of feeling sorry for what they did, they just laughed and made fun of the situation. Later, when they were caught, one of the teens flipped everyone off on TV, and then the other one gave a feigned apology. I can't do much to say sorry. This is the case of the evil teens who killed an elderly for money. Stephen Gerke, or Steve as he was popularly known, was described by many as a kind, caring, down-to-earth guy who loved riding motorcycles and bartending. He lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and was a loving and tender husband to his wife of 23 years, Albuquerque State is popular. Steve was also super close with his daughter, Heather, who described him Albuquerque is down in Mexico. It's like Mexico, but it's New Mexico. Heather recalled how when she was a kid, Stephen would dress up as a clown and juggle for them, trying to fool them into believing that it wasn't him. Heather said that she and her dad had shared a love for music and that he enjoyed listening to the band Grateful Dead and loved attending the Telluride Never heard of that before. But the thing that made Steve stand out was his love for people. He had worked as a bartender for 25 years in the same bar. He loved his job and always wanted to see everyone having a good time. Always wanted to have a good time, always wanted his coworkers and his patrons to have a good time. On the evening of June 25th, 2015, Steve was going to the bar as usual to start his shift, and his wife Anita said that she kissed him goodbye, told him that she loved him, and wished him a fun night. That was the last time she would ever see her husband alive again. At around 3 a.m. the next morning, one of Stephen's neighbors called the police to report a loud noise that he had heard coming from outside his home. He told the dispatcher that the noises sounded a lot like gunfire, and that he thought he heard someone crying out in anguish, and he suspected that it was his neighbor. The police arrived at the scene moments later and found Stephen lying in his driveway with multiple gunshot wounds. This body cam footage shows how the officers reacted when they got to the scene. You can see them scouring the area of the incident and talking to a man who they found sitting on a curb. The man told the police that he saw a Honda driving away from the scene quickly. Firefighters tried everything they could do to save Stephen, but he was already gone. Stephen's sudden death shocked everyone in the community, including his friends and coworkers, who could not believe that something so horrible could happen to someone they knew. It's just unthinkable to a lot of people here. Steve was well liked in the community, and he had no real enemies and was not involved in any criminal activities. So who would want to kill him, and why? Police believe that Stephen was coming home from work that early morning when he caught some intruders leaving his home. When he tried to confront them, the burglars fired 3 times at him before fleeing in a stolen car. And to add to this tragedy, Stephen's wife was actually home when this happened and probably witnessed her husband being murdered. The body cam footage from the police shows the officers going inside the house to talk to her. She told them that she was asleep when the thieves broke in and stole her purse and other items in the house.
Ma'am, which part of the house is your purse in that they were taking? I think you kind of pointed out to me. Okay.
Investigators believe that the burglars used a garage door opener they found in Benita's car to get inside the house. Benita's handbag and purse were later found strewn outside the house with her credit cards missing. Shockingly, this was actually not the first incident of its kind to happen that day. Earlier that evening, police had received multiple calls of burglaries happening in the area. One man had even been shot at when he caught a group of intruders in his home trying to steal his TV. Luckily, the man was not injured, but the intruders made off with his cell phone, credit cards, and keys. Could these be the same people that had killed Steve?
Give the gift of great activewear at Kohl's. You can score Kohl's Cash every day. Save big on under.
As the police began their investigation, they learned that Benita's credit card had been used at a Walmart and that another credit card that had been stolen earlier that night had been declined at McDonald's. When investigators checked the surveillance footage at Walmart, they were shocked to learn that the suspects were young boys, probably still in high school. The footage was shown to a security officer at Highland High School, and he immediately recognized one of the boys as 16-year-old Christopher Rodriguez. The guard told the detectives that Christopher and 5 of his friends had actually been connected to a stolen vehicle in May of that year. On July 9th, 2015, 16 boys ranging in age from 14 to 17 years were arrested in connection with Stephen's murder. The boys were Ryan Archbecue, 17, Christopher Rodriguez, 16, Jeremiah King, 16, Andrew Hubler, 15, and 2 14-year-olds, Enrique Palomino and Matthew Baldonado, whose images were not released because of their age.
Don't let their young faces fool you. Albuquerque police say these teens are murderers.
They executed my father in a horrific way. My dad didn't deserve this.
Heather Alter's dad, Steve Garrett, was killed 2 weeks ago. Investigators say he was shot to death in his own driveway after these boys burglarized his home. Jeremiah King, Christopher Rodriguez, Ryan Archibek, and Andrew Hubler will be charged as adults, Enrique Palomino and Matthew Baldonado as juveniles. The oldest is only 17, the youngest 14.
When news broke about the ages of these suspects, everyone was just stunned. How could such young boys be involved in such a horrible crime? And where were their parents or guardians?
Exactly.
Stephen's daughter, Heather, said in a press conference that she blamed the parents for everything.
I want to address the parents of these animals. Where were you? Why did you let your children run the streets at 3 a.m.? Like I always say to my children, nothing good happens after 10 o'clock. I hold you, the parents, responsible. Just know a tsunami is coming. Thank you.
And she's not actually the only one. The mayor also said that the parents should be held responsible because they failed to do their jobs.
Kids aren't out for these crimes without somebody motivated to do that, in my opinion.
The police even considered opening charges on the parents for letting their kids roam the streets in the middle of the night.
I will not let my kids roam in the streets in the middle of the night. I'm sorry.
Was actually the only one that was still in school.
That's how it is.
Had a job and did not have a criminal record. The others, including the 2 14-year-olds, had previous run-ins with the police for burglary, stealing, and running away. A number of them were also said to have abusive and neglective parents. A neighbor who knew one of the teens, Andrew Hubler, said that the teen and his friends would be out at all hours of the night, causing trouble.
I saw him a couple times try my door, and they came around the corner, said, "What are you doing?" and then took off running.
After they were arrested, one of the 14-year-olds, Enrique Palomino, confessed everything, telling the police that Stephen's death was a result of mobbing. This is where a bunch of teens would come together to break into cars and homes at the same time.
This is something we haven't seen. This was very new to Albuquerque.
The teen said that Jeremiah King was the only one armed with a gun that night, and that he had fired the shots at another man who caught them earlier in his home trying to steal. After killing Stephen in cold blood, Enrique told the police that Jeremiah laughed and joked about it as the group went on to break into more homes. Despite Stephen's family asking that all 6 boys being charged as adults, Enrique, Matthew, Ryan, and Andrew were charged as juveniles after the court decided that they could be rehabilitated. They pleaded guilty to lesser charges of aggravated burglary, credit card theft, and conspiracy, and were sentenced to probation. But as for the two 16-year-olds, Christopher and Jeremiah, it was determined that they were the masterminds behind the crime, with Jeremiah as the ringleader and Christopher his second in command. Jeremiah took a plea deal and admitted to pulling the trigger on Stephen in exchange for a shorter sentence of 25 years in prison instead of 30. During the sentencing hearing, Stephen's distraught family addressed Jeremiah in the impact statements, telling him about the pain that his actions had caused them.
You have no idea how much, Jeremiah, you took from so many people. You took a life. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Jeremiah's mother, who was also given a chance to speak, defended her son, saying that he was a good kid who made a mistake.
Jeremiah is a good moral character. I realize it might be hard to believe that, given the circumstances, but it's true nevertheless.
When it was his turn to speak, Jeremiah apologized to Stephen's family and promised to change his ways while in prison. But as it would later emerge, those were just empty promises, and Jeremiah's troubles with the authorities were far from over.
I can't do much to say sorry. I could prove it by doing me along in prison.
More than 2 years later, we figured we'd see if he made good on that promise. What we found was hundreds of pages of disciplinary records from the New Mexico Department of Corrections. An investigation last November links him to an assault on an inmate at the state prison in Hobbs. And records show King got caught twice with homemade alcohol, or hooch. That, plus regularly skipping out on his GED class, totals to more than a dozen infractions that have cost him phone.
See, like, you'll get really caught doing that.
Christopher, who is serving 14 years in the state prison for his role in the crime, is not doing any better. After his sentencing, a judge had described the teen's behavior as wanting, telling him to choose what he wanted to do with his life.
What you have to do is decide what kind of life you want to live. You want to live a life of crime? Do you want to live a life where basically your family always sees you in jail?
But unlike Jeremiah, Christopher never really promised to change. In fact, he was actually captured on camera giving everyone in the court the middle finger. While in prison, Christopher was caught on camera again, joining a group of 4 guys to beat another inmate in a second-floor prison cell. The footage shows the teen quickly getting out of the cell afterwards and jumping down the stairs. He was later moved up to a level 6 at the prison, which is considered to be the worst hell for prisoners. What do you think about this case? Do you think the parents are to blame for how these teens turned out? Let me know your thoughts.
If I was my kids, I would whoop their butts. Alright guys, I will see you in my 4th one, so I see you then.